Hello, I'm so glad you're here with me. Today, I want to share a simple story. It begins with a desire, one of those quiet ones that rises inside us, almost like a whisper. I wanted to feel alive. But not in the rushed sense of doing 1,000 things or chasing after goals. I wanted something more essential, to wake up with energy, to eat with joy, to feel light in my body, to be present, to breathe deeply without hurry. And out of that desire came an idea for 1 week. I would live like someone reaching 100 years old, with health and serenity. It wasn't about a trendy diet or impossible rules. It was almost the opposite. I decided to draw inspiration from the eating habits of the Blue Zones regions of the world where people live longer and better. They eat wisely, they live with purpose, they move naturally, and they nurture deep connections with those around them. I asked myself, what if I brought a little of that lifestyle into my own routine? Would I feel more vitality, more clarity, more connection with what nourishes me inside and out? It wasn't a scientific experiment. It was a human one, gentle, curious, with love at its center. Over the next few minutes, I'll tell you how it went, what I learned, what felt light, what felt hard, and maybe, just maybe, inspire you to try it, to in your own time, in your own way. Because taking care of yourself doesn't have to be complicated. It can start with a simple plate of food, a conscious breath, a small yes to your own presence. Shall we? What are the Blue Zones? Have you ever heard of the Blue Zones? They're like small windows into a longer, fuller, more natural life. Places where people don't just live many years, they live well. With independence, clarity, and joy into their 90s, 100s, sometimes more. There are only 5 of these places in the world: Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, Italy, Nicoya, Costa Rica, Aquia, Greece, and a unique community in Loma Linda, California, each with its own culture, land, and flavors. But all with something in common, a way of living that values what is natural, essential, and human. It was researcher Dan Buettner, in partnership with National Geographic and local scientists, who identified these regions. He wanted to understand the secret behind longevity, and what he found was a set of very simple but powerful practices. People in the Blue Zones eat natural foods, hardly anything processed. They move constantly, not in the gym, but in life, walking, tending the land, climbing hills. They have purpose. They know why they wake up each morning, and they live surrounded by affection, family, neighbors, friendships that last a lifetime. Maybe the real secret isn't just living longer. It's living better with awareness, connection, and calm. That was the inspiration that guided me. The foundations of the Blue Zones diet. Now, I want to share how these people eat. In every Blue Zone, the diet is plant-based. Almost everything on their plate comes from the earth. Vegetables, greens, legumes like beans, lentils, chickpeas. More than 95% of centenarians follow a diet with very little animal-based food. They also follow a beautiful principle that I came to deeply respect. Hara Ashabu, a teaching from Okinawa, that means, eat until you're 80% full. No more, no less. As if every meal were an exercise in listening to the body. Another striking feature, meals decrease in size as the day goes on. It starts with a hearty breakfast, followed by a balanced lunch, and ends with a light dinner, almost always before sunset. And, of course, there are the typical ingredients of each place. In Okinawa, for example, the purple sweet potato reigns. In Sardinia, there's lots of chickpeas, extra virgin olive oil, and fresh herbs. In Costa Rica, the trio of rice, beans, and plantains is a common base. Fish is eaten, but in small amounts, red meat. Rarely, and when it does appear, it's treated as an exception. Instead of ultra-processed snacks, you'll find nuts, fruits, seeds, and instead of eating in a rush, there's the habit of sitting at the table calmly. Food is celebrated, respected. That's the essence of the Blue Zones diet. Eat what nourishes. Avoid what wears you down, and make eating a moment of presence. My personal experience, 7 days of transformation. I started my week with an open heart and a little curiosity in my pocket. I didn't know exactly how it would go, but I knew why I was doing it. I adapted the principles of the Blue Zones to my urban routine, nothing fancy, just conscious choices, one at a time. Every day, I made a generous breakfast with fruits, grains, roots, nuts for lunch. I put together simple plates with legumes, cooked vegetables, and whole grains. At night, dinner was light, always plant-based, always colorful, always with care. I avoided distractions while eating. I sat at the table, chewed slowly, paid attention to the flavor, the texture, the moment. For the first 3 days, I felt hungry at odd times. My body wasn't used to it, but soon it understood. And then something unexpected happened. Lightness, mental clarity, a quiet but steady energy. As if something inside me was finally falling into place. Of course, there were challenges. I didn't always find the right ingredients. I had to improvise. I missed certain flavors, salt, sugar, speed, but I found alternatives and discovered new pleasures. More than just a change in eating, it was a reconnection with care, with my body, with time, with true hunger. What science says, I wasn't the only one to feel the benefits. Science also has something to say. Many studies show that the Blue Zones diet is linked to a reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and certain types of cancer. It supports cellular longevity, reduces chronic inflammation, and helps maintain telomeres, the structures that protect our DNA and wear down over time. Food, combined with lifestyle, forms a set of forces that work on the body like a well-tuned orchestra. It's not a single note, it's the harmony between many. Okinawa study, for example, followed hundreds of centenarians and found that they had lower rates of strokes, dementia, and cancer and a longer life without disability. In Ikaria, studies revealed that a diet rich in vegetables, olive oil, herbal teas, and small portions of meat leads to what scientists call successful aging. All of this without fads, without extremes, just real food in the right amount at the right pace. How to adapt it to real life, you might be wondering. But how can I do this here, in the middle of my busy routine? The answer is with simplicity and creativity. You can start by swapping animal protein for legumes, beans, lentils, peas, chickpeas. Replace white rice with brown rice, corn, quinoa, or even cassava. Use nuts and seeds as snacks between meals, and choose extra virgin olive oil as your main fat. If possible, go for seasonal foods, bought close to home. And when it's time to eat, turn off your phone, sit at the table, breathe, chew slowly. Notice when hunger fades. Practice hara hachibu. You can also plan your meals in a simple way, a basic weekly menu with foods you already like and know. Here in Brazil, we have local treasures that fit perfectly into this lifestyle. Beans, squash, kale, bananas, cassava, herbal teas, tropical fruits. You don't have to follow everything to the letter, but you can take inspiration and adjust consciously, respecting your body, your culture, and your reality. Cautions and criticism. It's important to be honest. The Blue Zones aren't perfect. Some researchers question the way longevity was recorded in certain regions. After all, not all the data is 100% verifiable. In addition, many of the studies are observational, which means they show correlations, not direct causes. There's also the genetic, cultural, and social factor. You can't simply copy and paste an entire lifestyle, because it depends on context. But that doesn't invalidate the inspiration. On the contrary, the secret is to adapt with awareness, without fanaticism, without rigidity. More important than following everything literally is embracing the spirit behind the choices, caring for the body with affection, respecting the signals of hunger, cultivating simplicity, seeking balance, not perfection. Final thoughts. This week gave me more than new habits. It gave me a new way of listening, a new rhythm, a new way of relating to food, to myself. I felt lighter, more present, more connected to what truly matters. And that's what I want to offer you now, an invitation. Try living this way for a week. or for 3 days, or just for one meal. Make a colorful plate, turn off the outside world, sit down, breathe, taste the flavor, and notice what happens inside you. Because longevity, at its core, isn't about counting years. It's about cultivating moments that are worth living. And that begins with small gestures, with choices made in presence, with real food, and with a gentle look toward your own body. It's not a miracle diet, it's a possible path, a way of living with more truth, more command, more life.